Okay, I'm going to tie a green drake parachute for the Metolius River, and this is consistent with the flies I tied and fished back in the 60s. Just to be consistent with what I did back then, we always tied our green drakes with bucktail, but I'm having trouble with my stacking is not as good as it used to be. This is very, very fine. It's a very fine bucktail. Let's see how this looks. Okay, the other thing we did is we made our tails for the green drakes rather long. So again, we used Nymo thread in those days. I'm using a 140D Danville's flat waxed. This is terrible, but I do not recall a specific rib that we used. But I'm going to put a little copper wire in here. And I've got a little bit of a mess back here with my tail. There we go. So a slightly longer tail. Now the flies that we initially used with the green for the green drake were actually tied with a ostrich hurl body. Those were not particularly durable, and I eventually went to using a dubbed body, and I tried many different colors of dubbed body for the green drakes, including, ranging from mostly gray with a little hint of olive to bright green to mostly green with a little hint of gray. And I tell you what, I cannot with confidence tell you that any one of those worked more consistently than any other. My success fishing the green drake hatch on the Metolius has been real skimpy. But my gosh, it's so much fun when you're down there in the canyon and those big mayflies start popping out, and sometimes they'll pop out and they'll start to ride downstream with the current. They're just spectacular. And then you can see their wings kind of puffing up and drying, and you can see the trout come up from the depths and sometimes just leap over the bugs. And those green drakes are so juicy. And I know there's some tremendous patterns out there. There's some comparaduns, and there's some I knew a guy, I don't want to mention his name because I think he was tying a really amazing looking fly, and had some kind of synthetic, almost like a plastic body. Anyway, I wish my memory was better. I think Richard Bunze, that name pops in my mind. So maybe somebody will help me. It was a green drake, so natural looking I couldn't believe it. Made this thing look just ridiculous. But this is what I knew how to tie. This is what I know how to tie. And I'll get my big wide grizzly feather, and now got to get a couple of browns, because these browns are a little bit on the skimpy side. It's not their fault, just our. So in those days, we would have just, the hackles were so good. You could just use two saddles, period. You wouldn't have to use 3. So I'm going to do something on my red Coachman Special. I tied the dull side up. On this fly, I'm going to tie the dull side down. No, the shiny side down. There we go. And I don't even remember if I applied cement to this post, but if I didn't, let's pretend I did, because that helps support it. So this is, the green drakes are very big flies. And this is a size 8, 2 extra long, dry fly hook. The same one I use for the red Coachman Special. So to tie this off, Garen has his method. What I do is I'm holding on to the tips of the saddles, and I just lift up here, and then I let go, but they don't go anywhere. And you have a nice, smooth crease there, opening to trim. And now I'm going to get a little bit crazy, and I'm going to put a little bit of gray dubbing on the head. So this is the Green Drake Special, the Green Drake parachute that I fished on the Metolius in the 60s and 70s. One day, if I remember, I'll tell you about how I met Prince Helfrich up there on the river. And what a great day of fishing we had, fishing the green drakes on the Metolius. I'll tell you all about it, hopefully. So to wrap up here, Green Drake parachute. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Get you a good view. Not much to trim there. Oh yeah, it's always okay to do a little bit of pushing and pulling. And to trim this off, you gather it all up and you leave it nice and tall and trim it. There you go.